Hello, and welcome to the Wonkette Weekend live chat. I'm Robin Panacchia, and this is the lovely and talented Stephen Robinson.
Hello, Robin. How are you?
I'm swell. How are you?
I'm okay. Let's hop right into everything while my wife is still listening. Though she's not listening at all. She's been out of town this weekend. She saw Joni Mitchell.
Oh my
Um,
God, what? She went to that?
yeah, and apparently Annie Lennox came out. She was like texting me at night while
No, no,
Annie.
no.
I think Annie Lennox was a guest, and Wendy and Lisa of Special Joy to Me also came out. But it was at the
You
Columbia
just let me
Gorges.
put makeup on, eyeshadow on. I'm gonna cry now. Sorry.
I will later get from her the full details of the show,
I just read about it and I was like, oh my God, my heart.
yes. So Donald Trump was indicted um, again, to borrow from
Cheers.
a line from American Dad. Again, he was indicted. So this one on federal charges, which he would be able to actually pardon himself. So there's every possible. Everyone's like he would drop out. It's like, of course he won't, because
No.
he's now even more pressed um, to try to avoid any sort of accountability for what happened. What I want to clarify, because we've shared photos of him storing classified documents, important secrets in the bathroom with a chandelier. There's a chandelier in the bathroom.
Yes.
Uh,
I will say everyone's criticizing that, but would I be mad at a chandelier in a bathroom? Absolutely the fuck not. Like I would.
you brought my attention
I
to
mean,
it in your
point you.
article
I know.
yesterday. I
Like,
had not noticed. I was too busy being like, why is there stuff um in the bathroom? Uh and I am someone who I collect things, but specifically old comic books, and I
mhm.
commented that I keep like I don't know anyone who keeps like their comic books in the little boxes in the bathroom or in random places. It's like there's no store. Like we're very particular about where we store them, and like we have them in plastic bags, and like making sure that the temperature is right, it's not too humid, or all this sort of stuff. And he's got them in the bathroom. And something that someone mentioned that I think people were not connecting on, because it goes to what I call the invisibility of servants, because
Mhm.
there'll be lines, again, to reference the Great Gatsby, there are lines where people will forget that servants are present. They'll be like, Tom Buchanan enters preceded by
I have
drinks,
noticed my
and
servants.
they just sort of assume it's Tom Buchanan. No, the servants are invisible, but obviously anything that someone's bringing. So my point there is like the bathroom is clean, like there's a trash can there, it's clean. Like this means that these toxic, like any, like the service staff is coming in, cleaning around the top secret documents, presumably having to move heavy boxes to get into the toilet or the tub. Like it is beyond insane. And everyone, of course, was trying to justify it. um Jim Jordan said, well, it's his right to do this. Of course, it's his, um, I, I think we should expect that Republicans, it's a cult. They're sort of all in on this. Any evidence you have that this is a cult is when his actual political opponents, his rivals in the primary, are repeating his talking points. So generally, when the
Yeah.
front runner, someone beating you, is indicted, that seems like something you would leverage. But like Mike Pence, and I think another candidate, might have been Nikki Haley, refused to go on Fox.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, that's a perfect opportunity to remind people that, well, the person running against me has been indicted again, and does not store, is
Well, no,
incredibly
because they
sloppy about
know if
storing.
they know if they go up against him in any capacity that they lose everyone. Like, which is going to be really difficult for them running against him. Like, they kind of just have to
Yeah,
like.
but
I
that's like,
guess
it's
I
a
think that
cult. But that's a cult, right? Like
yeah. Well, no, I
when
think that the plan is that they are going to like kiss his ass and pretend that he's right about everything. but they're gonna hope that like maybe people are like, maybe I don't want him for reasons, and I'll go with this person instead who will do exactly as he's doing without having that baggage.
But
Um,
that makes no
plus,
sense. That's
yeah.
crazier than Trump. Their argument has been the same as in these Republican voters will reject Trump, even though other Republicans
Mm-hmm.
and the right wing media apparatus will defend Trump. So, how are they going to conclude that this is bad when other Republicans and the right wing media apparatus are saying, oh, it's, Joe Biden, he's attacking, like he's attacking his political rival and all that sort of stuff. Like, all that does is make it even more so, and they've seen it even more so, that they're going to stick by Trump to stop this sort of deep space state conspiracy against him. It
Used to
makes
be
no
okay.
sense. A deep state conspiracy against him. So that is, it doesn't make any sense. If you want to get rid of Trump, you have to actually run against him. He provides a good deal of, material, what with his being in
Mm-hmm.
such legal peril and all. Um,
I
the
feel like I'm just like kind of running in case like of something. I don't know.
well, this is the something. He was
Yeah.
indicted, so you need to actually then say, okay, well, we shouldn't, but instead they are running against Biden and Democrats and Jack Smith and defending the indefensible. And that's only going to help Trump. The idea that Trump, so I got in some trouble about this when I called out Rachel Maddow for suggesting this, and they said, well, she wasn't suggesting it. She was just, whatever their thought processes are, is that he might agree to not run in exchange for like the charges not being pursued or something. And I was like, well, it's so stupid as to not be worth discussing. And I've just been annoyed after more than 7 years of this guy
Yeah.
that we still don't know. He is a psychopath. So like there's ways that he behaves. So we should not discuss. It's sort of, okay, well, maybe I could start flying tomorrow. Like, why are we wasting time discussing things that won't fundamentally happen? He is a psychopath. He was not going to drop out and endorse another candidate. He's going to feel as if Biden beat him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not going to do that. He's going to try to win and pardon himself. That's what he's going to do. He's not going to accept any sort of deal.
No, of course not. Like the whole the entire idea is absurd, and it's also a very bad idea because we don't want it to make it seem like, oh, this is just so he'll drop out. Because that actually doesn't make any sense anyway, because there's still going to be another Republican candidate, and all that says is that, oh wow, we're really scared of him because he's the strongest, which is depressing, and we shouldn't really be going in that direction anyway.
I think he is the strongest of
Oh
the
no,
others,
yeah,
or
oh for sure, but you gotta at least play it like you can't play things that way.
I mean, some of the others might have been, but they've all just
Mm.
doubled down on being awful as he is. So it's just like, we will be Trump, just not Trump, as opposed to we are actually West Wing style Republicans. Instead, you've got Nikki Haley, who every kind of obnoxious liberal was telling me was such hot stuff, and we had to worry about her and everything. And she's such a craven opportunist. And I've said this many times, she's worse than March of the Green or Lauren Boebert, because I do believe fundamentally those two believe their own crap.
Oh yeah, they absolutely do. Yeah.
It is not about, they don't have a focus, they don't have a team of people coming in and say, hey, if you beat up on trans people, this might get your points up in this area. No, no, no. It's like, we hate trans people. That's what we're here for. And I they're the demons you actually kind of know and can, like, okay, as opposed to someone who's just like, yeah, I might run a flag. I might take down a Confederate flag because I think that that's the path to me winning. But when it's not, I will deny it. And then
And I'll
later,
be like, "Yay, Confederate flag!"
and
Um,
I'll beat up on I'll lie about trans people viciously because I don't believe in anything other than my own accumulation of power. is just a fundamentally, those are people who are gonna stab you in the back no matter
Mhm.
what.
Oh, yeah.
So they are all the worst. And but it isn't. I mean, they're all bending over to Trump, hoping that they can win his approval and his supporters
Yeah.
when he eventually which he won't drop out,
No.
or that he'll just die
I
or
mean,
something.
I think the thing that DeSantis does have on Trump is that he is like his crazy moralizing is fucking sincere. He genuinely hates trans people and gay people and like his Trump I don't think actually cares about most of the social stuff, whereas DeSantis absolutely does. And like that is the one thing that he does have over him, although they're not gonna I still don't see them switching for him unless like DeSantis gets Trump on not being pure enough.
Well, he has zero um, charisma or charm. He's essentially another um, Ted Cruz, and they seem to be
Yeah,
repeating the same problems of 2016, where they attacked Trump from the right and said he wasn't conservative enough, so that when he was actually running, and Democrats felt this problem as well. They kept saying that, oh well, Trump used to be a Democrat, and he's not like Ronald Reagan. I was like, okay, well, you're actually helping his cause, because
yeah.
at the end, people
Although
thought that they viewed him as more moderate than
one
the
thing
other.
I'd say is that there has been a sea change as far as that goes. Like I think by 2016 there was like we're how dare you say that we hate gay people and things like that? We're not like that at all now. They very much tried to do well, we opposed same sex marriage at the same time Obama opposed it. And they were really
Mhm.
trying to pull that shtick because they realized that it was getting uncool. And it's become like it's sort of come back again. And they are super militant about it. So I do see that as something that could be exploited.
Well, that's the primary base, has always been that way. I think what doesn't change is
Mhm.
the perception. It's not about winning the primary, it's winning the election. And generally
Yeah.
speaking, most swing voters don't care about this stuff to that degree.
Yeah.
And if they were going, it's one thing to be like, look, I don't care one way or the other. I'm a suburban white person. I'm only going to care about this issue unless it impacts me. I think there was, over this weekend,
Yeah.
there was some right wing conservative crying because his kid was trans or something. And it's like, yes, of course, you're such concrete thinkers. You can't imagine anyone exists until you get actual personal experience of
I
it.
missed that. I'm gonna have to watch that.
But you know, that is, but it's still not like they're not even leveraging it as a solution for anything else. They have no other solutions. They're only running on this. So everyone else would be like, yeah, well, why do you care so much about this instead of other real things, which I think will hurt them in certain swing districts and swing areas. And that's based on polling we've seen so far.
Mhm.
But that's irrelevant because right now we're talking about a
Yes.
potential
Sorry.
well, no, no, no. It's irrelevant in the sense of we're talking about potential civil war,
Oh, yes. Because
because
they
they
are
are
planning to
violent.
kill us.
They are inherently violent people. Trump is going to get more and more desperate and more willing to. Carrie Lake was talking about how all Trump supporters have guns, and we're gonna, you know,
Kill us all, I guess.
yeah, I
'Cause
guess. I mean,
it's like, if you don't give us our way, we'll have to murder you. Like,
well, it's just carefully. It's all sort of all this romanticizing of the Confederacy in the South or
yeah.
whatever is this romanticizing of essentially traitors, essentially people who are like, okay, well, if we don't get our way, we will take up arms against you. Not that you
Yeah.
are actively oppressing us, it's just that you won't let us actively oppress other people at some point in the future. So we're going to take up arms. And that is scary. I mean, folks say that it won't be like January 6th again, That can never happen again. I don't
Oh,
know
it could absolutely
why,
happen again.
but I don't know why they are so insistent that it can't happen again. Is there some
Who's
sort of
saying that? I don't know anyone who's saying that.
normality
Everyone I
bias?
know is pardon?
Maybe there's some normality bias. But folks who I've been things that I've been reading in mainstream media tends to believe that here's why it's different. But a lot of mainstream media has to be in the both sidings and
Yeah.
really sort of calming everyone down. Don't freak out. It won't be scary. DeSantis isn't a fascist. Don't worry. Like every chill out is sort of the way they. But also, liberals are going to defund the police and possibly make it impossible for you to live in New York and um, so forth. So they are very what they take seriously and what they don't take seriously
Mm,
is very inconsistent. But but yes, a lot of Second Amendment solutions pending around. People like Mike Flynn and actual members of Congress like Andy Biggs and others are just
yes.
promoting ideas of clear violent rhetoric, which eventually will get someone killed. Trump himself is specifically targeting special counsel Jack Smith's wife as a Trump hater.
Mhm.
Um, and so we can expect there to be more of that. What are you seeing on the crazy 4chan QAnon boards that you frequent? Because they
Well,
often
it's
say it's a
actually
part of
an
God's plan.
operation organized and, like, done by Trump and the White Hats, who are, the good guys, not like dudes who wear Cox University hats and hemp necklaces and listen to Dave Matthews Band. Uh,
Hmm.
they are, yeah, because Trump explained this to, like, or sorry, gave them a clue as to what's going on because he did his video in front of a picture of uh, the Monroe Doctrine, and they don't really totally understand the Monroe Doctrine, but they're pretty sure it's about puppet leaders and entirely. And so they specifically think that Trump was sending a message saying that I'm really in charge. I'm still president because they still think uh, he might not be president, but he's still commander in chief of the military and can send them out at any time. Like he's the one who deploys the military, not Biden. And that has to do with them thinking that Biden only got like a 3 cannon salute in the 21 gun salute, and it's a whole ass thing. So then they think that this was all organized by Trump and the White Hats in order to set precedent so that they could then go ahead and arrest Obama, Clinton, Biden for all of their crimes
Hmm.
because they wouldn't have been able to do that before for reasons, I guess. But mostly that there aren't actual crimes, but
Yeah, I think it was Lindsey Graham who said that so many Republicans feel it's unfair, but this is the constant right wing victimization politics. But that Hillary Clinton wasn't, you know, paid no price for her email crimes, aside from the fact that her email crimes weren't actual crimes at the level
yeah.
of it's an entirely different thing. But she actually didn't win the presidency. Like there's data that shows that the investigation itself and the Comey letter at the last minute
Mhm.
likely cost her the presidency. There's other issues, but that certainly was a tipping point. So the idea that she got away with it is also absurd. But there's just it's just such a grievance culture. I mean, that is the core of it. And people will try to say that conservatism or or at least right wing politics is about like small government or freedom or liberty, all these sort of this buzzwords, which is all in the core is just this idea that there's these other people who won't stay in their place,
Yeah.
and
It's
they're
all
also
hierarchy. It's all everything comes down to hierarchy for them.
but they also believe that those people are oppressing them.
Mhm.
So they live in a world where it's minorities and women and Jews and specifically now trans people who are oppressing them. I think it was what Nikki Haley had said, where it's just this minority imposing their views on a majority, which is also untrue. Like
Mhm.
most of these issues, the majority supports these things. So it's just, but I mean, she's probably speaking in code about the majority of white people because that is your folks are kind of effed up in America. So but it's just bizarre. So obviously, what we'd expected for this is that no matter what the evidence was, the Republicans would rally around Trump. And this goes back, I feel like it's something that Democrats have struggled to comprehend, which is why won't you get rid of Trump? Why don't you ditch him? Why? Because they will fundamentally not want to give liberals a win. They
Yeah.
don't see compromise as a positive. It is something that we want. And by virtue of our wanting it, they can't give it to us. And there's no way around that. Right. So they can never abandon Trump. It's one thing to
Because
abandon
everything is about owning the libs, and that's literally their only
yes.
interest.
So it's one thing to reject people like McCain, who again at a point
Mhm.
towards the end of his career had more support from Democrats than Republican based voters. Um, Liz Cheney, same way. When she turned against Trump, the bulk
Mhm.
of the party hated her, and you had Democrats, praising her for patriotism and so forth. And I won't get into that beyond saying that was enough for Republicans to say she
Mhm.
is not one of us because liberals like her. So there's no way. The more grotesque Trump becomes and the more grotesque he is and the worse that DeSantis and others are, the more that they sort of will hold on to specifically Trump. Like Trump's become their sort of instrument of vengeance, as he himself
Yeah.
put it. So
Well, it is. They use troll logic. Is basically what like how they do everything. If they didn't actually care about Hillary Clinton's emails, as this now demonstrates. They never really cared. They just wanted to have a thing. Like they just wanted, this is why we hate her, and and have that work. Honestly, like the whole groomer thing, it's also a fucking troll. They don't actually think that. I mean, I think there are people like on the outskirts that probably do think that at this point because they get brainwashed, but they literally came up with it as a gotcha for DeSantis's "Don't Say Gay" bullshit. Um, because they want it to be something else, and they use troll logic to justify everything that they do. Like if you're against it, if you're for it, I'm against it. If you're against it, I'm for it, and it doesn't matter what it is. They have no actual principles.
I'm sure trolling existed as a concept before that wonderful Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode with the troll, where we literally get Xander
Yeah.
accusing. I won't choose between my girlfriend and my best friend. That's insane troll logic. Um, yes, which I have. That and Harmony Has Minions has been sort of one of those that I have quoted many
Yeah.
times. I felt that way recently. I was reading something about Lauren Bobart having a staff. I was like, wait a minute, Lauren Bobart has a staff. Harmony has minions. Like it's hard. You just wind up like you just start laughing at the concept.
Oh
It's so
my
absurd.
god.
Uh,
I
oh,
love Harmony though. Harmony.
Harmony is just wonderful.
I like it when she joined the vampire MLM
Oh, the cult.
in Angel. Yeah.
Yeah, she went in. She was there for like 8 minutes. Comes out already brainwashed. Um, yeah, so Harmony or like I'm sorry, the last one is just sort of she comes in, she's Angel's secretary at the evil law
Yeah.
firm, and he's like, Harmony, you're my secretary. She's like, hello, assistant. And it's like, okay, why shouldn't I just kill you? And she says, secretary's fine. Sorry, we've been down the rabbit
Honestly,
hole
like
of but that sort of stuff. My point being that I think trolling probably existed on the internet, or that was a term. This is that episode was like 2000, so maybe that kind
Yeah.
of helped. Um, yeah, that was positive. Yes, um, but yeah, I don't know. It is a party of trolling. It's a party, and I think Democrats desperately kind of want this sense of, okay, this is enough. We're going to give you enough data, and you will join our side. And and it's, as you've said, it's like so kind of pathetic. It's like someone wanting
It's
the
never
cool
going to
kids.
happen.
The
Yeah.
cool kids aren't going to like you ever.
Yeah.
Um, and the worst is when like just like you must have stored these old tweets from Lindsey Graham or Ted Cruz or whoever that you now bring out and say, look, hypocrisy. It's like, well, no, it's not like, yes, they said this about Hillary Clinton, and now they said this. Oh, and Trump said this about storing national secrets, and now he did this. It doesn't matter because it's all. It's interesting because Trump's also, when people try to comprehend his behavior, and one of the big things that a lot of the media will say is that he must not have understood, or he didn't understand. It was, and it's, again, they fundamentally don't get that he's a psychopath. He has to push boundaries, and sort of the idea that there's, and this comes up a lot that people don't get, that like someone who lives in the other city, dirt poor, selling drugs, is not necessarily doing it to break kind of social norms or to get away with something. It's like, this is my only way to
Yeah.
pay the rent. And if you put them in another situation where it's like, okay, well, all right, you can go, and here's how you can make money and pay your rent in a safer environment, safer net.
Mhm.
There's like, okay, great. I love not having, I didn't enjoy any of that. I didn't enjoy having to run from cops or potentially get, you know, killed by other drug dealers or something. Oh, great. This is wonderful. I love this chance of his life. And those people can be sort of processed outside of our, in our, and so the sort of criminal justice system of where those people are sentenced for life sentences is pointless. Whereas often, the embezzler at a Wall Street firm, or specifically like even someone who would shoplift from Tiffany's or something, or some fancy, uh, it isn't sort of, for them, it's a
It's for
different,
sale. It's
it's,
because they actually want to be doing that. It's not like they're in a bad position and have no other choice. They're doing it because they actually want to be doing it.
yes.
Yeah.
And I'm not speaking generally. There's some people who there's other reasons why they're seeking thrills and those things, but there are
Mhm.
also certain people who psychologically, and specifically in Trump's case, psychologically defying those things is the whole point. That's the power. That's
Yeah.
the dominance. Is sort of gangster thinking, and that is always Trump. So that was the argument that, oh, if we
It's I
had,
can get away with this shit.
yeah, so if we had prosecuted Nixon, this would have made Trump not happen. It's like, okay, well, maybe you should have
No.
prosecuted Nixon, but all he would have done would have been, no, he was an idiot. I can get away with what he didn't get away with. Like, that wouldn't have changed anything.
Yeah.
Um, and the Nixon thing is complicated because, well, one, yes, they tried, the chances of him actually being convicted, that was part of the thinking. They thought was that it would happen. It was very unlikely he'd get convicted. If he wasn't going to go to an actual prison. He's probably going
Mhm.
to go to wherever rich white people go to play golf or tennis under security. And
Which, okay, I'm sorry. Just want to stop you right there for a second. I really, really hate the whole club fed narrative because actually that's how all prisons should be. And
but
they're
they're
also
not.
all club fed
But they're not.
is still really bad.
Well, yes, but
It's not actually
all
like,
prisons aren't like that. So it's essentially,
yeah,
they've determined that someone who has committed arguably a crime with far less
yeah.
impact should be in a much safer environment for them than someone who might have knocked over a liquor store or something, which is still significant, but it's not like what some of these folks who've committed white collar crimes have done as far as scope. Um, yes, I think prison should not be torture chambers and so forth, but I think the reason I bring that up is that people thought that was what was going to happen to Nixon. That's what
Yeah.
people talk about with Trump. Like he's going to go to prison, and like every idea that he's going to be in Shawshank Redemption type situation. It's like, well, that will never happen. And we can discuss whether that's fair or not, or right or wrong, but that'll never happen. The sort of the justice that the supposed justice that he wants, where he wants, criminal suspects to be beaten up by cops, where he
Yeah.
wants people, drug dealers summarily executed. He obviously does not want for himself. He wants every possible. That's not hypocrisy. That's just
They want the
basic
cruelty,
authoritarianism.
want to get to see cruelty. He and others want to get to see cruelty enacted on others, and that makes them feel powerful.
Yeah, it is trying to, have it make sense from some sort of moral code. It's frustrating to me because it just seems like the left sort of trying to acknowledge that Republicans have some sort of higher morality, and I don't believe that is true. So it's like, oh well, all these folks who said they were law and order, how can you support Trump? It's like, because it was never about law and order. It's
Yeah.
about keeping people like me in line, and that has been the case always. They never wanted to exist under, and that was always the case with the police, right? Every time there's a police shooting, and it would become this, and it was more frustrating, I found, with centrist white liberals or whatever, than even with conservatives, who at least, they're the ones who are just, oh well, we can't get rid of the cops and whatever. And it's like, look,
What are you gonna do?
all we're saying is, do you want to live under those same conditions where in your neighborhood there's cops everywhere, not protecting you, but making, in case you step out of line, you're,
Hmm.
mowing the lawn incorrectly or jaywalking, like countless things that the average person in those neighborhoods get busted for and then ultimately sent to prison. The way that I've seen the moms speeding to pick up their kids because they're late. Okay, well, that in a poor neighborhood doesn't matter the circumstances. That's enough to get you pulled over. That's enough to get you in jail. Like, no one wants to live under those conditions. So at least concede that what you're arguing for is two separate justice systems. So for poor people, specifically minorities, they live in this police state, and then we live in this other. And the only way that
That's
you
the
believe
whole
that you
point
are
of the police:
safe,
protect the rich from the poor.
yes,
Like,
and the
that's
only,
why
yeah,
they exist.
and so they believe that that's the only way that they can stay safe, to the point that they support the vigilante murder of a homeless person, because that apparently is what is necessary to keep them safe. But I'm kind of bored of Trump and Republicans right now. So tonight is the Tonys. Um, I have not obviously been in New York since last July. So, but
I haven't
has
actually seen any of them, but I've seen a lot of clips. So hold on, let me get my ballot out here. Um, it is in one of the 87,000 other tabs that I have up. All right, so oh wait, nope, that is not it. I gotta click on. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I can't actually see you guys right now, and I am going to uh, read off the uh, contenders, the nominees for Best Musical. We have & Juliet, Kimberly Akimbo, New York, New York, Shucked, and Some Like It Hot. Steven, I feel like I already know what you would be going with.
I haven't seen any of them. So what I've read is that and Juliet is, or at Juliet, right?
No,
Is
& Juliet is not doing well, but I really like it. Like,
well, none of. I mean, not, that's a major problem. As someone who works in theater, that is a challenge. We
it is, but it's not like what people.
post
Kimberly Akimbo is probably the favorite right now. I don't. Yeah. I feel like you're a New York, New York, and or Some Like It Hot.
Yes, I was just saying,
Your
I
opinion.
just wanted to clarify to everyone: please go see theater, because we have not actually recovered since COVID. The shows
Yes.
are having trouble staying afloat. They're not bringing in people at the same numbers, and I don't think it's entirely due to concerns about. It's just, it's this near extinction event that happened to the theater is still somewhat having repercussions. Um, Now, and Juliet is sort of connected to sort of this type of stuff I would do, just sort of like,
Mhm. Oh, yeah, yeah.
so I find that fascinating. Some like it hot. My normal instinct would be why, but it looks
Seeing
like
the
it.
music numbers from it, though, it's actually, like, really good. I
Yes,
like
I mean, as I said, my normal instinct to something like that would be why. So, in other words, if you were to pitch me and Juliet, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's interesting. If you pitch me, we're gonna do a revival or a musical version of Something Like It Hot, I'd be like, okay. Not that I can't be convinced. I'm just more
Yeah,
excited about one than the other. For what I've read, it looks interesting. The great performances. They are, I
it's all
believe there's going to put in
the
a trans sort of concept storyline into it, which I think is somewhat justified because it's sort of there in the original, but not, you know, obviously overtly stated. Whereas
yeah,
Jack Lemmon's character um, uh, somewhat enjoys the alternate life he's
and
been
there's, of course,
living, I
the
suppose.
ending. Yeah.
Yes. So, and and becomes sort of Daphne. And so I think this leans more into that, where it really is about Jerry sort of saying, I am both Jerry and Daphne.
Geraldine. Oh, Dr.
Contemporary.
What? Oh, I'm thinking of something else. But no, I actually Amber Ruffin actually wrote the book for this, and her and someone else. And it looks like, from what I've seen of the musical numbers, it actually looks like pretty awesome. And I think it's a little bit different than doing musical revivals of or musical versions of movies from like a couple years ago, in that it seems sort of more appropriate. Like, there should be a Some Like It Hot musical. Um my I like The reason do like And Juliet is because it has really widened my karaoke repertoire, because normally I cannot sing Celine Dion's uh That's the Way It Is, but this version I can, and I really appreciate that. It's adorable. It's a bunch of you know 90s hit songs. If you don't know what it's about, it is basically a retelling of Romeo and Juliet, in which Juliet survives and like lives her best life, which is, I think, just fun. Um Shucked, I think, is really interesting, and probably, if I were going to listen to a soundtrack from one of the musicals this year, which I have listened to all of them, but like regularly, I would go with Shucked, who sorry, which going back to what you were saying about the trans character, Alex Newell, who played Unique on Glee, is up for featured actor in Shucked, and they are one of the first non-binary actors to be nominated for a Tony. And there's like definitely a whole discussion to be had, I think, around the idea of whether or not like to change the categories at this point, or you know or how to work that. But Shucked is actually, it's about like a corn con artist person, and the music is really good, and Alex Newell's voice is unbelievable. And then there's New York, New York, which is good old Candor and Ebb. So can't really go wrong with that.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I normally do not like award shows, but the Tonys often have great performances, and if you are not able to see them, there are to see the shows on Broadway. You're able to
Yeah,
kind of, that's the only opportunity a lot of people have, especially when I was growing up. That was sort of this peak into this uh, somewhat rarefied world. You'd have to actually get to New York, and the tickets weren't actually cheap even then.
yeah,
So it was great. And I had a friend who had collected, like, so Tony performances from the ages, even on rare, filmed off television, stuff like that. So it was always a
Oh,
great.
awesome.
Yes. So now I look forward uh to watching that, and also the obnoxious people tend to pay less attention to the Tonys. It
Yeah, they just, like,
seems
leave
to
us alone and,
seem to leave
let us watch it. We also have, best revivals this year, Into the Woods, Lerner and Lowe's Camelot, Parade, and Sweeney Todd, starring Josh Groban, which really ruins it for me,
uh
personally. So I will have to go with, yeah. Um,
yeah, so I've often as someone who enjoy it would frustrate me whenever there was a say bad superhero movie and everyone's like, okay, well, is everyone done with superhero movies? It's like, well, no, this was just a very bad movie.
yeah.
And then I saw Across the Spider Verse is very great, and I think the last Guardians of the Galaxy was good. So finally, people are kind of like, some things can be good and some things can be bad. It's not anything about necessarily the genre. I think uh, so. Diana being one of the worst musicals I'd ever seen, though hilarious in its yet entertaining, but did not mean that there was sort of musical fatigue. I think there's still great great stuff that's out there and it's being done. I wish they would be able to endure a bit longer, but that's one of the challenges.
I maybe I'm just, like, hopeful, but I think it'll come back. They do have to do the thing now where it's like, here's a celebrity in your, like, it's like, hey, we put some, it's not spaghetti, but it's veggetti. It looks like spaghetti. You can get, look, there's a celebrity. And that sort of level of involvement in order to bring people in. But I don't know. I still feel like it's like live theater is just, it's its own thing. And
Mhm.
it's so, so, so fun.
Oh yeah, and that's been a case for years. I mean, I think the whole reason BB Newirth even did Cheers long term was because Bob Fosse, she actually went to Bob Fosse and Glenn
Yeah.
and said, "I got this offer. Should I do it?" And they were like, "Well, yeah, because if you want to, you know,
Able to,
be a leading actor and things, they're still going to start looking for people who have this sort of mainstream reputation. So here's a way you can go do this, make some money, and have a name." And that certainly worked for her. Um, and I mean, I think people have sort of can break out and then go into other. I mean, it's
yeah.
less of that. So but
I mean,
um,
this year, like, it's kind of interesting. Like, Into the Woods has Sarah Bareilles, also Philippa Sue, from Hamilton. Uh, uh, sorry. Into the Woods has Sarah Bareilles, and Sweeney Todd has Josh Groban. I know which one I'm picking personally because I can't stand Josh Groban for some reason. And even though I actually like Sweeney Todd better, and I also don't care that much about Camelot or Parade. So that is, um,
uh, someone had asked about the Back to the Future musical versus Some Like It Hot. I mean, I don't think one, as opposed to the other, is more overtly leaning itself towards being adapted to the stage. It's just that I think it's a matter of execution. I think music, uh, you can tell great story. A great story can be adapted to the stage in a
yeah.
musical format in a great way. I think part of the challenge becomes when it's sort of we're going to adapt it, and also we want to convey the spectacle. So like with
Mhm.
Spider-Man or whatever, so it becomes about the spectacle, and then that can be an issue. I find the spectacle less engaging. That's my own personal thing. So when that's sort of the
I
key
feel like Andrew Lloyd
driver,
really, like, kicked that off with the whole, like, crash in chandelier, and we're back to chandeliers. Um, I don't really need that, which again is, why I'm more of a Sondheim girl. Um, for plays, we have August Wilson's The Piano Lesson, A Doll's House, which I frankly never need to see again. I mean, I just don't. The Sign in Sydney Brewstein's Window, um, Rachel Broshannon, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is in that, and Susan Laurie Parks is Top Dog Underdog. So, personally, I love Top Dog Underdog because, like, Susan Laurie Parks is amazing. However, for my own selfish reasons, Candy Burris from Real Housewives of Atlanta. Also Escape. I'm sure you all remember Escape from the 90s. Um, she is one of the producers of August Wilson's The Piano Lesson, and honestly that show needs more of a plot right now, so like maybe that could be interesting. She's really been trying to get her EGOT despite having, I think, just the Grammy right now. So I don't know. Any preferences?
No, as I said, I haven't, because I haven't seen. I'm a big fan of the Piano Lesson,
Yeah.
but I haven't seen this production.
Oh, I just meant like for the plays in general, like
Uh,
on their own, like not the actual productions, because we obviously haven't seen them.
no, I think the Piano Lesson is one of my favorite plays. It's really, really good. If anyone has a chance to see that, they should. It's one of August Wilson's gra- greatest works. Um,
Oh, I'll send you. You know what? I just realized I didn't even send you the ballot. I'm gonna send that to you in Slack. Um, so yeah, I'm just like looking at shit on my own. I mean, those are obviously the main things. I kind of just don't want Ben Platt to win Best Leading Actor because he started to annoy me, and I'm petty. Um, this is how I make my decisions on award shows.
yeah. 1776 was not, I believe, did not receive any nominations. I think a colleague of mine was in that, um, but it did not receive anything. So bummer. Um, yes.
um, yeah, no, I did. Let me see. Really, really do hope that Shucked stays around long enough for me to get around to see that, because it does look amazing. I don't know. I feel like Kimberly Akimbo probably has like the most interesting new plot, but when I listen to the music, which I have, I'm not like, oh, I would like to continue listening to this, which is terrible. I don't know. And those are my Tony Awards takes.
you have you have nothing to say about lighting.
I have nothing to say about lighting. May the actors and the stagehands get along together. So yeah, no, I have nothing to say about lighting. Do you have things to say about lighting design or sound design or? Uh, I mean, I actually think it would be really cool for book if Amber Ruffin did win, because that would be amazing for her. I admit
Uh,
I don't actually know any of the other people. I don't think.
no, it would be great for her. She's really talented. Yeah, Doll's House. That's one of those ones that I can't believe is on Broadway. I feel like it's just sort of set every local production
Yeah,
it has done.
everyone's done that. Like every woman I know has done that freaking monologue at like some point, and I never need to, like. There's no way it's gonna be like I'm never gonna be like, wow, what an amazing and new production of A Doll's House. Like I don't care. Like I could be like the best production of A Doll's House on earth, and I'd be like, yes, it's A Doll's House. What are
I've
you
seen
gonna do?
I've seen it at least a half dozen
Yeah,
times as a result of because
having friends.
yeah, I because especially working in theater, so it's like, oh, my friend, she's gonna be in the, oh, I've got to go see this, and sort of, I just I prefer the not related, but it's Hedda Gabler is one of my favorite. I saw Kate Blanchett and Hugo Weaving in that, and so almost 20 years ago in Brooklyn, and that was really, really good. As far as scenery chewing opportunities go, they were amazing. Doll's House is kind of tough. I think it's one of those productions where I feel as if the lead has to play it a way that's perhaps not authentic to the period so that we comprehend it. So it has to be like, oh, a modern audience has to get that she is very different from the
Yeah.
Victorian, you know. but most people wouldn't get that she's being very weird, so they have to really play her as being really, really weird enough that we, by our standards, get that she's sort of different and childlike. So it winds up being slightly less authentic than what you might have imagined at the period. But that's just my take. So
You have only thought it was pleasant to be in love with me, Torvald. Sorry.
yeah,
I don't remember anything else from. Like,
yes, that was
if you got me started.
quite authentic.
I still think I can. I still think I have most of A Streetcar Named Desire and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof memorized.
I
do a surprisingly good Southern accent, but only.
not
I don't
really.
ever want to do it in front of you. I would die. But
No, I am pretty.
Rochester, New York, we're impressed.
I'm pretty critical of bad Southern accents. I tend to do the Henry Higgins thing of where it's supposed to be and it's from. So
we're never going to be in chat. I'm going to be like, sometimes I feel like a cat on a hot tin roof.
I would.
And you're going to be like, no.
It is speaking of Tennessee Williams. So
I had 17 gentlemen callers. Wait, that's not.
Yeah, I am doing a review of the this film Batman v Superman that has Jesse Eisenberg, who had played Mark Zuckerberg in Social Network, as the villain, and he's plays Lex Luthor. He's terrible, and he does tons of these kind of almost Saturday Night Live moments of like he's trying to be clever and it doesn't work. And there's like one line where he talks about, well, we won't have to rely on the kindness of monsters. It's like, oh, right. So that's what you're. And I just always felt like no one stopped you. I feel like there's like, because I've worked with actors who are like that guy. They would have given that performance, but someone has stopped them. And it's great. It's like acting is about trying new things or doing certain things. It's like, oh, what if I do it this way? And we all love it. You want to hug the actor. It's like, oh, it's so wonderful you thought of doing that. But that's crazy. And don't ever do it in front of other people.
Terrible Boston accent. Like, I really enjoy it. When I will say Family Guy does get Rhode Island accents correct, but that's probably because dude lived there for so long.
Yeah, I think Seth MacFarlane, I think based Peter on someone he'd known when he was
okay.
out in the area.
According to my Uncle Ray, he actually knew the guy that Peter was based on, and he was a car salesman. But my Uncle Ray also like sort of like made stuff up, and you're like, I'm not sure if this is true or not. Were you friends with the one guy from Good Times? Which apparently he was, and that was a surprise to me. But like then other things he makes up, and you're like, oh, well, I didn't realize that was a joke.
There was more than one guy in Good Times. Okay.
No, I mean there was a guy, and I don't remember who he was, but he was. I can't think of his freaking name. I only saw the show like how many times. I was barely alive. Hold on, I'll look him up. Actor from Rhode Island. Oh, Ben Powers, who was Thelma's husband, Keith. I don't think I haven't seen that many episodes.
That is one guy who was on Good Time. Yeah. Why would he lie about that? So yes,
because all my uncles make up weird shit. And then you're like, oh, wow, I didn't know about that. And then, like, you mention it years later, and they're like, oh, no, I was just fucking with you. So.
All right. Well, before we break for the week, and then next week will be a pre-recording because it's, I believe, Father's Day.
Yes.
And I have an event, and you have something unrelated to being a father.
Yes, I am not a father. I got nothing.
But we'll be pre-recording, but there will be a Father's Day spectacular. So thanks everyone for joining us today. You have anything exciting going on that you're working on for tomorrow, Robin?
I don't ever. I got nothing right now. I really don't. I was considering I was going to do a thing on Republicans who are like, you got to give it to the Unabomber, but then I just incorporated that into. what
Yes,
I was
you
going to say. Really
don't
got to give it to the Unabomber.
you don't have to actually give anything to the Unabomber,
Yeah,
who
no, no.
is now
Like,
dead.
under no circumstances should you ever gotta give it to the Unabomber.
Yes,
Because he murdered a lot of people.
he's dead. Pat Robertson's dead. That's sort of, no matter how bad things are, we can always keep in mind that mortality impacts us all, and so eventually, the worst people alive will be no longer here to do bad
Yeah.
things. I'm not calling for anyone's deaths. I'm just saying mortality gets us all. All right, so we will catch you
Just,
guys.
like, leaving on a very uplifting note here, Stephen.
Well, I mean, the end of Pat Robertson, I would consider a sort of a positive. There, I mean, there's probably some other awful person out there, but at least it's not Pat Robertson who's still with us. So, thanks everyone. Happy Pride, and we'll see you next week.